an update from the company garage just online. You know, just online. You know, I mean, we could put them on the desktop. I mean, you can always still use them with your other, you know, they're still useful. But I do think, I mean, I like that it keeps them instead of monitors. Yeah, my mom wouldn't allow that. I wouldn't allow me to saying, my mom hates. She's not that desperate yet. Thanks for trying that.
The Caddo Parish Commission work session for April 17, 2023 at 3:30 is now called to order. Mr. Clerk.
Commissioner Hopkins. Here. Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Young. Here. Commissioner Burrell.
Here.
Commissioner Jones. Commissioner Gage Watson. Commissioner Cothran. Here. Commissioner Atkins. Here. Commissioner Chavez. Here, sir. Commissioner Lazarus. Here. And Commissioner Epperson.
Here.
You have 8 of 12 committee members, 8 of 12 commissioners present, and that does constitute a quorum.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Epperson. Not Commissioner Epperson. At this time, Commissioner Epperson will do the invocation, and Commissioner Lazarus will do the Pledge of Allegiance. Would you please stand?
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us for our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thou art the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Amen. I want to turn to face the flag. The military and first responders render a proper salute. All others place your hand on the heart and repeat in unison with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Epperson and Commissioner Lazarus.
Well, that brings us to agenda additions today. I am not aware of any potential agenda additions unless you have any, Mr. Chairman.
I do not.
Okay, then we'll move forward to citizens' comments. Or citizens who would like to address the commission on issues other than zoning, please fill out a comment card located in the chamber foyer and submit here to my left, and we'll turn those in. Comments are limited to 3 minutes, and at this point I have received only one request to speak.
Okay, on the citizen comments, our citizen would be Ms. Joan Glover. Would please please state your name for the record.
Good evening. John Glover, 9100 Walker Road, apartment 217, Shreveport 71118. I stand before you all to bring to your attention an issue that I find concerning. In an effort to address agenda items, once you all have discussed, I don't believe I'm able to do that. I think when I come before you under citizens' comments, that limits me from being able to address your positions on agenda items. What I would like to ask is that such be afforded me and any other citizen who may come forth wanting to get a clarity of what you all are discussing, whereby we can have an understanding, number one, and if there are questions based on what you bring forth, then we can address those at that time. No debate, just us bringing forth our position based on what you share with us with regards to your agenda items. Thank you.
Okay, there's no one else.
Okay, that brings us to the next section on our agenda today, which is visitors. And we do have a couple of presentations scheduled for today. The first is a presentation from 4-H. I believe Ms. Catherine Pace is here with the 4-H Youth Development, and if you could, make your way out. And just for Commissioner's reference, you do have a handout that they've distributed. You should have that at your workstation.
Well, welcome, Mrs. Pace, and the 4-H students. Please state your name for the record, please.
So, hello, my name is Aubrey Everett. Thank you for having us today. I am a part of the Louisiana 4-H Citizenship Board, and it's basically a board with people from all over Louisiana who uphold nothing but citizenship. So every year we take time to plan retreats according to our service learning focus, and for the last 2 years it has been mental health. So this year we have planned a retreat based upon how to cope with mental health and just talked about different ways to express it in positive ways, such as dancing or meditation. So overall, it's a great club, and it not only pushes people to, you know, it not only teaches others to better themselves, but also teaches us, a part of the club, to better ourselves also. So not only with Citizenship Board, I'm also involved in cooking in the club. So like in 2021, me and another friend of mine from Shreve, we participated in the LA Chef competition and we won 3rd in state. And last year, it was me, Ava, and another person from Shreve named Louise Johnston. We participated in the Great American Seafood Cook-Off in 4-H, and we won 1st overall in state, and we went to nationals in New Orleans. And then just last week, we went to the 4-H Cooking Challenge in Alexandria, and we won 1st, and we will be going to nationals in Dallas, Texas in October. So. Thank you. So now I will be passing the mic over to our exec parliamentarian, Ava Richardson.
Hello, everyone. I'm Ava Richardson. I am the Louisiana 4-H parliamentarian. I am the president of Caddo Junior Leaders, and I am the president, or co-president actually, this is my other co-president, of Caddo Magnet High's 4-H club. So I've had quite a busy week with 4-H. 4-H is just a huge aspect of my life from everything I'm involved in. Last week we competed in the 4-H cooking competition where we won 1st, as Aubrey just said. And then the next day I had a dinner with Farm Bureau where I got to meet and talk to them about what they do for 4-H. And I got to learn what their spending goes to help us, to help the youth grow and become leaders and advocates. And then the next day I had the privilege of being a member of 4-H Day at the Capitol. I got to talk to many different legislators and meet so many different people and just thank them for their support of us. 4-H is an international program, but in our state, we have helped so many people become who they are. We focus on not only agriculture, as many people think. We also focus on STEM, on cooking, on fashion, on wildlife. Anything you can think of, 4-H has a hand in. We like to help anyone in our communities grow, and we like to reach as many people as we can, just like our 4-Hers over here. And I'm going to pass it on to Noah Treacle. He is our Caddo 4-H Secretary for Junior Leaders and Vice President for Caddo Magnet High School.
Good afternoon. As Ava just told you, I'm Noah Treacle. So as the Vice President at my school, Caddo Magnet High and 4-H, we have focused on growing mainly because we went from like 3 people, us, to more than 40 people overall in our club, and it was just, we're so grateful for all of them, and we're so happy that we were able to grow our club so much. And basically in our 4-H club, we focused on life skills and learning how to cook, most specifically. Every month we hold like one cooking class, and we teach them like a new recipe from our teen cuisine, which was a grant, right? It was a grant, and basically it's a book of recipes for all meals throughout the day, and we just teach them how to learn how to cook and just be able to provide for their own, and like, you know, but also we focus on mental health, and we try to, during our meetings every week, we do a little breather, or I think our next meeting we're going to be doing stress balls, which can be really helpful. It's just a small way to improve your mental health. But yeah, and then we also try to help in our community. We're helping a garden around the school neighborhood, and we're building it up, just making it nicer for the people who live in the neighborhood. And so yeah, now I'm going to pass on the mic to Ms. Pace.
Thank you. Thank y'all for allowing us to be here today and for your continued support of the 4-H program. And these are 4 exceptional 4-H members, but there are thousands in our community that are doing the same work, and we're just proud when they get to be in high school. I can bring them in here, but there's 4th graders, 5th graders doing awesome. The food challenge last week, we had 3 teams. We had a team of elementary students, middle school students, and our high school members, and the high school members excelled, but they told them in the van coming back, we're going to teach y'all how to win next year. So they're wonderful role models to our 4-H members. We're really excited. We have grown exponentially this year. We have 15 new school clubs, and the handout has the schools that we're in. And so if those are in your district, just encourage those schools and ask them what they've been up to in their 4-H club. We've really been trying to help our school club leaders, providing professional development for them. Those are those teachers that, you know, do so much already, but we're trying to help them in all aspects of teaching. And so we're just excited. The kind of the newest grant program, Caddo Parish is the only parish in the state that was awarded a national 4-H grant called Caddo Tech Changemakers, and it is using teens to teach underserved populations job readiness and technology skills. So if any of you work in your district with a group of seniors or just adults that don't have technology skills, contact us and we can bring our group of teens to them. If they already meet on a regular basis, that's usually the best place for us to come. But they're a group of teens that would love, you know, a new audience. So if you're interested in that, you can contact us. But we have exciting things happening in Caddo 4-H, and we just appreciate y'all's continued support. Thank you for having us today.
Thank you.
Oh, this young man here, he didn't.
This is Elijah. Elijah, you want to introduce yourself?
My name is Elijah. I am 14 years old. I'm in 9th grade. I'm homeschooled, and I am one of the newer additions to 4-H. I haven't done too much, but I'm excited to learn more and do more for my community.
What school you go to, Elijah?
Oh, I am homeschool.
Oh, homeschool. Okay.
And they're new to our community, so yes. So we're excited to have them.
Okay, Commissioner Epperson.
Yes, just wanted to thank you all for coming, and I don't know if you're aware, but the month of April is Parish Government Month, and we are designating Thursday, April the 20th, as a day that the commissioner's gonna have student commissioners for a day. And based upon what I've seen here and you all's articulation, had I not chosen my student commissioners for a day, I would choose you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Commissioner Carlton.
First of all, thank you all for educating me about 4-H while you were sitting out there. But the other thing I would like to share as well, and in particular, you kind of talked about it a little bit on the 4-H Tech Change Maker, because I was just thinking, and I wrote a note to myself, at recreation centers, if you all were available to recreation centers, I think not only would you grow, but it would actually benefit the communities as well, because a lot of things that you all are doing, the technology, the food, the things of this nature, everything that you all are doing could really, I think, benefit the community as a whole. So again, keep doing what you're doing, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Commissioner Hopkins. Oh, Commissioner Gage Watts, I'm sorry. Then Commissioner Hopkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to say thank you for your presentation, and as it's already been stated, for your articulation and making sure that the message is out about what 4-H is all about in our communities. I am a 4-H member. When I was in high school and in elementary school and middle school. So I see that you have at least one of my STEM path students. She was so good last year in the program, and I know that if she is working amongst you, I know that you have a lot of excellence in your group. So I just want to continue to encourage you all to continue to do what you're doing for the community, because the rewards are priceless. Thank you.
Commissioner Hopkins.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank Mrs. Pace and each one of you for coming today.
I know caller.
Always there. For coming today, I appreciate it. I too was a 4-H'er in middle school and actually learned how to cook, and that's probably how I ended up in the restaurant business. But y'all do a lot. I've been fortunate to be invited to a couple of your events, and just thank you for everything you do, and keep up the good work. We are proud to have every school in District 1 as part of 4-H now, and so that's a good thing. Thank you.
Commissioner Young.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you all so much for coming, especially Noah.
Yes, sir.
I went to Magnet too, so it's nice to see that Magnet has a good 4-H presence. Did you go to Magnet also?
Yes, sir.
Both
All three of us.
All three of you do. Okay, fantastic. So great. As you know, Earth Day is coming up. Do y'all have big Earth Day plans for a service project?
Yes, sir. We have a, is it a fair? Yes, we have our Earth Day fair this weekend.
Cool.
Yes, so it's from 4 to 6.
And where is that located?
It's at Magnet.
Okay, awesome. Well, I'll try to come by, and I also want to invite you to contact me if you would like to get involved in a large project that we're going to do with Boy Scouts in Highland Park, which is close to Magnet High. We're about to plant a large fruit orchard there. So if you want to email me at I have a Caddo email address. It's pretty easy to remember. Get in touch, and I would love to have your help working on that project.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Finally, I'd like to congratulate you all on your work. I too was a 4-H, believe it or not, years ago, where we showed our animals and actually traveled to Baton Rouge to take them to be, judged on, and I enjoyed it. I grew up on a farm, so it was kind of a natural thing for me. Secondly, you kept talking about cooking. What dish actually won the competition, or dish is?
So we had a secret ingredient. It's kind of like the cooking show Chopped, and the secret ingredient had to be a Louisiana commodity. It ended up being rice. So we made stuffed mushrooms.
All right, my favorite.
Yes, sir.
All right, and the last thing is you talked about your mental health club. I just wanted to volunteer some of these folks here to be a part of your club, including myself. Maybe we can.
Are you saying we need help?
I didn't say that, but anyway, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for having us.
All right. Okay.
And
Mr. Clerk.
the next item on our agenda today is a visit from the Shreveport Citizens United.
Okay.
And by the way, it looks like it was omitted from the agenda, but this was sponsored by Commissioner Young, I believe. Yes.
Okay, state your name for the record, please.
I think we need to state our name and who we are, right?
Right.
Yeah, I'm Jerome Cox, Highland Avenue.
Mike Reardon, born and raised in Shreveport, business owner for 30 and some odd years.
So thank you for having us this afternoon. We have we want to talk about Shreveport Citizens United. We're not going to take very long, but I do want to share what the concept, the idea is, and I'm going to begin with the mission statement. Our mission statement says, to unite citizens of Shreveport, transcending race, economic, social status, political affiliation by establishing cooperative relationships between citizens, leadership, civic leaders, as well as nonprofits for the purpose of reducing crime and violence within our city.
Our core values for Shreveport Citizens United are, first, we're a nonpartisan group of citizens. It's important for us not to be political in any of our approaches to the challenges that we face. Secondly, we are an inclusive and respectful of all perspectives. Thirdly, we value diversity. Our board membership reflects the demographics of our city. Fourthly, we listen to the voices of the marginalized neighborhoods. Fifth, we are not a political action committee. We critique policy, not people.
We have learned that we believe in creating a unified message, so our word is going to be positive, and we want to help in the change of the atmosphere. The big word today is collaborative. Collaborative in the sense that we want all stockholders, including civic leaders, police departments, nonprofits, all businesses, small, young, churches, and citizens alike, to create a positive outlook. This, we believe, will be the results of reducing crime and violence if we work together as one unit.
Our basic strategy starts with, first, we want to meet and recruit as many influencers as possible. We've been well on our way to that. We want them to be from every corner of Shreveport to share with others what we're doing. To sign up as many followers and volunteers as possible, to take action and be involved where needed, meet all the nonprofits that relate to crime or crime prevention in the city, so that we can have a better understanding of what they do and how we can work cooperatively with them. Meet with city government leaders to hear their perspectives and to keep them informed of strategies and events as we make progress. And lastly, meet with church leadership across our city to explain our mission and establish liaisons between ourselves and the church body.
One of the things we get asked a lot is, what's the plan of action? How do we execute? How do we move it forward? So this is our intent, to have weekly meetings with our advisory team and discover information and get the necessary advice to address certain solutions. Here are some of the things we want to do. The recidivism rate for us reentry, as well as vocational training opportunities, workforce placement, collaborative opportunities between nonprofits, collaborative between citizens and police. But we also have to help them in their recruiting strategy. Very important. Mentorship programs, in the sense of when inmates are released. Also mentorship programs for single moms, mentorship programs for teens, and early identification of those who have learning disabilities such as dyslexia and things of that nature.
You know, that kind of brings home part of my story. As a child, I had very difficult time learning. I had dyslexia and other learning difficulties. And from the time I was very young through high school, I was never able to read. I remember looking at my 4th grade special ed teacher, and she looked at my mother and said, "Mrs. Reardon, I'm sorry, your son cannot learn." Well, consequently, I grew up as an angry young man, and I stayed in trouble all the time. I was a disruptor in class. I stayed in fights constantly, and I became violent pretty much through my young years, kicked out of school every year for acts of violence. By the time I was 16, I believed that I had pretty well become an alcoholic. For sure I was by the time I graduated. And by the time I was 20, 21, I was a drug addict. By 23, I was already part of the problem. I was selling drugs on the street to pay for a habit. And at 24, I was a convicted felon. So now I've ruined my record and reputation and everything. And at 25, when I hit my lowest point, I was 125 pounds waiting to die. I had a God intervention in my life that changed me from the inside out and changed my life forever. And consequently, I've been very successful in life. I can read today, though, by the way.
That's a blessing.
Yeah.
And I should point out, as we conclude, I'm from a family of 8 children, 7 boys, 1 girl, single mom. You know, I've gone on to earn several doctorate degrees. I'm a United States Army Airborne. I had great success in my life, but it happened because of the people that were around us. That village that took care of us and that created a space, a safe space, I might add, that transcended us from one level to the next. And I remember my grandmother saying this one thing. She believed that it was possible. So, you know, as we move forward in this journey, and we can't do anything in reducing the crime or the violence without this commission, without the citizen council, without the mayor, without every citizen we have. And we've been on that grassroots campaign. Folks say, we hadn't heard about you, because we've been knocking on doors and talking to the folks in the community saying, what do we do? What do you need our help with? How do we do this? And so we're also looking at a program called 360, Omaha 360. And it is really amazing. We had a big meeting today. There were more than 35 cities represented in that conference today. I'm a little exhausted and I'm a little tired today because I left at 3 o'clock this morning from Nashville, Tennessee, looking at their program on crime and violence. So I spent, 3 days up there. So we're putting the resources in. And here's the good news. We're not coming here asking for money. We're asking for support. We're asking you to say, look, believe that it's possible, that change can be inevitable if we all work together as one team. And I'll leave it at this. My mother once said to me, when a colleague and I was arguing about a situation, and I think one of us wanted to be king or whatever, and she said, it's amazing, son, what you can get done in this life if you don't mind who gets the credit. So what we say today, you can have the credit, give us the results. Thanks, Mike. Go ahead.
Yeah, there's one other thing that we have in our plan of action. Communications are going to be very, very important. You know, news media is very fragmented, radio stations are fragmented, and sometimes getting the word to the community of everything that you're doing, planning and action successes are hard. Well, I'm in the digital print world, so what we're going to do is we're going to print a quarterly newsletter from Shreveport Citizens United that is mailed to every home in Shreveport, so that they can be abreast of everything as we're making progress to where we can all be on the same page. It's going to have opportunities like, for instance, one, we're going to communicate our mission statement, but give people an opportunity to sign up. One of our core goals is going to be as many people as possible to sign on. You can go to ShreveCU.org, ShreveCU.org, and you can scroll down to the bottom of that website and hit register. And when you do, you can enter your information, and you're basically endorsing our efforts to bring peace in the place of crime and violence in our city. We will highlight nonprofits each quarter that we mail out. We've been meeting with so many nonprofits that are doing such a great work sacrificially. We will have a word from our mayor, our police chief. We will include available communications from our city council members to their respective districts. We'll report on progress developments from our civic leaders, including pictures and comments from those like you who endorse us and why you endorse us. It's important that those in our citizenry recognize from our leaders that we're one people. And that I can't say, I mean, what you see here is an example of one person. I mean, Drone and I have been walking together for years, and there's nobody I love more on this earth. And he and I have been talking about it, and people like Mario, I've heard others talk about we need to come together. And so Shreveport Citizens United will be just that. And it is our intent to bring unification of our city and collaboration through government, nonprofits, and citizens to affect change in areas that either directly impact crime or lead to crime. So we want to stop the crime that is, and we want to prevent the crime that will be by giving some of these young kids an opportunity maybe that they wouldn't have normally. And so that's a big part of what we're going to be doing.
And just keep in mind, this is a tree that we're going to plant today that we may not sit under the shade of. But this is a journey, this is a marathon. So we recognize that it may take 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 years, but we have to start now. When we discussed this, my answer to him was no. It's audacious, it's big, it's too much. But I don't think we have a choice. We don't have a choice. I mean, we've got to do something. And so we're just simply asking. We're asking to garner, I know many of you on this panel, and we ask you to garner your support. We thank you for the opportunity for sharing. We look forward to working with you and doing what we can do to make things better in the city.
And if any of you want to endorse us publicly, we would appreciate it because it lends credibility to our efforts and what we're trying to do.
Okay, Commissioner Atkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to thank you all, Mike and Jerome, is it?
Yes, sir.
With an N, Jerome?
Sir.
Jerome?
Jerome, yes, sir. Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
But thank you all.
Not Tyrone, but Jerome.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much for your efforts and for your commitment and for your mission and for caring about our citizens and our young people. We appreciate your time and effort, and just wanted to say thank you and please let me know how it can be helpful down the road.
Well, you can join us. We'll be meeting tomorrow night at Byrd High School, CE Byrd, at 6 p.m. Up to this point, we've been pretty much a grassroots thing. We've been working from the bottom up, not from the top down. But we're going to have an open forum tomorrow evening at 6 at Byrd High School. Okay. So please feel free to join us. We'd love to have you.
Thank you. That's it, Mr. President. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Epperson.
Shreveport Citizens United?
Yes, sir.
Not Caddo Citizens United.
Well, we accept you. Yeah.
You know,
We didn't have to put Louisiana on there either because right now it's Shreveport seems to be our hot spot.
I know that Shreveport is the largest municipality, but
Yes, sir.
you know, crime is pervasive everywhere.
It really is.
It really is.
Get everybody involved, but thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Young. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you both
Thank
so
you.
much for being here. I'm so glad that you could. Oh,
Yes.
do you have something to say?
And wonderful man there, had a chance to be at one of our meetings. We want to thank you so much. And I've always wanted to get Ms. Stormer's autograph. I'll get it after the meeting. Thank you all so very much.
Awesome. Thank you both so much for being here. I wanted to just say how impressed I am with your project and your ambition. And I read everything on your website and learned about Omaha 360 because of you. And I think that what our community needs is for people like you and all the other people in your network and all of us to step up and especially intervene with our kids, because as your own life story tells, like by the time you got into big trouble, like you were only a few years away from being a juvenile, and if somebody had intervened with you appropriately at that time, like
my life might have been different.
That would have been different. But it looks like you've turned out great.
Yes,
and you're doing great work now, and maybe it's because of those lessons. Who knows?
Well, it's from that intervention I talked about
exactly.
at 25.
So I won't be able to be at your meeting tomorrow because I have another meeting about juvenile crime issues as well at the same time. But I hope that you'll tell everyone at Byrd, which is in District 4, that I publicly endorse your project and want to help every way I can. Living here and working here on this problem, like if you're engaged in our community, you see that it needs constant work, and it doesn't just need, work when you remember. It has to be constant. So I appreciate so much that you're willing to live here and make this a better place. And I look forward to talking with you all.
Your endorsements mean so much to us because it meant a lot when the City Council of Shreveport literally came together and said, every one of them basically said, we're with you. And we could boast that. We could boast that to the citizens because it's encouraging to all of the citizens because Shreveport is a very diverse group of people. And this is a very diverse board of commissioners. And, you know, any and all of your endorsements we would appreciate. Thank you.
Thank you so
Okay,
much.
Commissioner Chavez, y'all, we're still not through with you yet.
Jerome and
Oh, I'm sorry.
Michael, no, look, you got your heart is in it, and that's what I love about it. Is neither one of you, man, you both are very successful. You didn't have to take on this challenge. You could have stayed at your house and enjoyed your families and said, you know, when is somebody going to do something about it, or when are they? But you guys said, no, it's me, it's us, and so from my heart to yours, I applaud you guys, and I thank you for that. And the thing that I love the most about it is God's getting the glory about it, because you guys are giving Him the credit at every step of the way, and I've seen it on this journey. So thank you guys for what you've chosen to do, what you're currently doing, and what's going to be done long after all of us are not on this horseshoe, and long after all of us are not even in Shreveport anymore because we've passed on. So thank you for what you guys are planning. And I'm pretty sure that you may be a farmer as well. I know you're a cattle beef farmer, so I'm glad that the 4-H kids hadn't left yet, because I think they can share some tips with y'all on farming.
If you ever want to work in a feedlot, just come see me and I'll put you to work. It's one of our many side businesses.
I think he's got chickens and he's got cattle.
Muscadine wind, wine, so we'll put you to work.
Thank you guys for coming down, everything you're doing. Thank you, President.
Mike?
Yes, sir.
Still not finished?
Yes, sir.
I don't know you as well as I know this other fellow on the other side of you. We've been friends for a long time, Dr. Cox, along with all the Cox boys down there in Red River Parish.
Yeah.
I know that you all would be doing good work, and whatever we can do, I'm sure I can pretty much vouch for those who are here. We would like to support your effort.
Well, thank you.
So again, thank you for coming.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Morrell.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bless you guys.
Okay, before we go on, I'd like to recognize a good friend of mine out in the audience. I haven't seen him in probably 30 years now, almost 25 years, and that's Floyd Carlton. Another Carlton. Are they in a relationship? Y'all spell your name? Y'all spell your name the same?
No,
okay,
no,
I wasn't
no.
sure. Different? Lloyd?
You just spelled his name wrong.
Yeah, he got the wrong spelling on his name. But Floyd has been a cosmetologist, had a cosmetology school business for, oh God,
48.
At least 40 years.
48.
48 years? Wow. Again, thank you so much for coming. Mr. Clerk?
Okay, thank you. The next item on the agenda today is the report section, where you do have an admin report attached, and at your desks you can find a printed copy of the finance report for March.
Dr. Wilson?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Good to see you all today. I believe we had a request from the Broadband Committee Chairman to have the 2 recipients of the Gumbo Grant come to visit you all and kind of give you an idea of what's going on. And today we have Ronnie Colvin today from Comcast, and he's here to give us an update. And the other gentleman, Johnny Moyer from Altice, could not be here today, but he's going to schedule at a later date. So at this time, without any delay, I'd like to bring Mr. Ronnie before you to give you an idea of what they plan to do with the Gumbo Grant they received from the state of Louisiana.
Okay, Mr. Colvin, if you would come up. I was still expecting that presentation. Do you remember our conversation at the Chamber of Commerce?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Well, first, let me start by saying my name is Ronnie Colvin. I'm with Comcast, and very happy to be here today. Dr. Wilson, thank you for the invite, and certainly the board. I appreciate your time today. We did receive a Gumbo Award in 2022. We signed the contract, and that officially kind of kicked off our grant period. We have that was signed on 11/21 of 2022. We have 2 years to complete the project, and we received roughly $9.4 million from. That's what the total project is, $9.4 million. We received approximately $5.9 from the state in a broadband grant fund, and then the other $3.4 million will be Comcast contribution to this project. It is a fiber to the premise technology, and we're building really in the northern part of Caddo. Some of the communities are Mooringsport, Oil City, Vivian, Rodessa, Ida, Belcher, Blanchard, and then we also have a small system that was not upgraded in the village of Gillum. That'll be upgraded as well. And the grant that was awarded was for approximately 523 homes. But we are going to build much more than that. I mean, right now we've started the project. We've actually walked out the entire area. It was a little over 400 miles of plant that we've identified that we'll be constructing, and it's really, when you look at it, the first 4 to 6 months we had to file basically a calendar with Gumbo, kind of laying out everything. The first 6 months, 4 to 6 months, was all about getting all of the walkout done. That's complete, as I said, and then it goes into a design phase where the actual network will be designed, and we anticipate having that done by June the 1st, the actual design part. We are going to break the project into 5 different phases, and really we see no issues right now. I mean, during the walkout, we haven't identified. We do have some water crossings that we'll have to apply for permits, and certainly part of the walkout identifies every pole, does a GPS coordinate of that pole, and also registers any areas where we might have permit issues or make-ready issues, as we call them. But right now we're well on our way, and the project, as I said, will right now, we've finished every project we've done. We've got grants in other states in our region. We've finished a little ahead of schedule on every one of these projects. We don't think Shreveport will be any different, and certainly what we want to do once it's complete is to after the project is all wrapped up, is just do some kind of kickoff type event for the area. And at the end of this, we'll be able to offer every service in these new areas that we offer today here in Caddo Parish. We'll have a multi-gig internet product. We'll have our mobile service, our home security service, our phone service, as well as our video product that we have. So we're also going to offer. We're participating in the ACP, the Affordable Connectivity Program that the FCC has put out. That gives essentially a $30 credit to any citizen that qualifies for that. We'll be participating in that program in this new area, just like we are in the existing part of the parish today. We also have another low-income product called Internet Essentials, and we'll be offering that in there as well. It's a 50 by 5, 50 megabits down, 5 megabits up product that we'll be offering. It's actually $9.95, and we'll be offering that in the new area as well. So I would like to just really open it up to you, and I'll answer to the best of my ability any questions you have.
Any questions from the commission? Commissioner Hopkins.
Yes, sir, Mr. Colvin.
Yes.
Do you have a map showing the area?
I do. Okay. I have a map that I'll be happy to leave you one behind. Okay. And we can, matter of fact, we've kind of got them blown up for each particular area, and I've got them color coded, and I'm happy if you want to. Okay. I'll give you my card along with the map, and you can share it with the board.
Because I get quite a few calls related to when are we going to be able to do this and that. And so with that map, I should be able to see the 523 homes that would be served. Okay.
That's right. And you should be able to look at that and just by general area be able to tell where we're at today, where we're going. And again, it's really 2 parts. There was a Gumbo funded, and then the rest of it Comcast is funding. And again, we're building another almost 1,700 homes that are not part of Gumbo, but we're going to just, we're going to be building those because they're, it'd be very difficult to build in one area and leave another area unserved. They may have another provider there today, but we are going to, build additional, and that's on Comcast's, financials.
All right, thank you, sir. That's all I have.
Okay. Let me ask you, for those maps that you are providing for Commissioner Hopkins, if you would leave some with the administration so that we would have some for our office.
Yes, sir.
Because we do get calls on things of that nature. And plus, we have a broadband committee that we definitely want you to come before.
I'd be happy to.
And because I'm sure they have questions too. Commissioner Chavez.
Thank you, President. You and Commissioner Hopkins pretty much asked what I was going to inquire on. However, instead of just a physical map, Mr. Colvin, could you provide us with a digital map that we could have?
I think I can get you a shape file, if that would be good.
Yes,
that would show you, it just basically puts every home, and again, these are homes and businesses. I want to make that very clear. We're building to all dwellings, whether it's a business or a home. And I feel like I can get you a shape file that would have just a dot on a map that would show you each of those homes.
We could disseminate that information a lot easier. Thank you for that. Thanks, President.
Commissioner Gage Watts.
Thank you, Mr. President. That's exactly where I was going to start, asking for those digital files so that we can share them on our websites. And I was going to also ask you about your community liaison who goes into the schools to make sure that they know what type of information is available for them, the internet essentials, and how they can apply. Is it being shared on their websites? Could you bring us up to speed on that?
I'd be happy to. Pre-COVID, we were doing probably back-to-school events at 3 to 4 schools, and I will say, the same products that we had then, we're still offering today, and when I say we, I have a lady that works with me. I mean, we are the community liaisons as well, to really get out, and we certainly encourage the local employees here to help us and to get involved. But normally for us, it's like a back to school event. Maybe it's a PTA, come in and speak. We've done that many times in this area, and certainly are willing to do it again. And it's it really for the ACP, because a lot of you'd be surprised how many people don't know that is a federal government program, and it is you can get 100 megabit download, 10 megabit up, essentially free.
Right, and also the laptops, right? They can purchase those at a discounted rate.
That is correct. We have a laptop. You can get a laptop for $150. Comcast subsidizes the whatever above that, and I think they even got it where you can pay for it over a period of time or something like that.
Great.
But
well, with those restrictions that are now lifted, I look forward for you all to be getting back into those schools, into our communities, to let them know what's available.
Understand.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, Commissioner Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening. Good afternoon. I seem to recall, do I remember at one point Comcast donating? I had a nonprofit reach out to me, wanting to work with our local youth, some Chromebooks or some laptops or something. Is that do y'all still do that, or?
We did that a lot during our back to school programs that we would go and attend. We certainly and we're still doing that. Okay. On occasions we'll usually have raffles and things like that.
Could I put that person in touch with you? She works with VYJ.
Okay.
And I just I remember, and it's just funny you're down here today that made me remember. Can I put them in touch with you?
I'll leave my business cards enough for everybody. Okay. It's got my cell number and my email on it.
Okay. And what I'll do is kind of a warm handoff, and y'all can just kind of work through it.
Okay.
However y'all choose to do it. But I know they work with a lot of youth that come through our juvenile or fight diversion, juvenile, whatever, trying to divert them from our juvenile system. And so usually pretty on the lower income or dealing with some issues. And I think they identify that connectivity or access or digital ability to work with those platforms and stuff. And so I think they're trying to work to get them Chromebooks or whatever it is. But if y'all could work through it with them, I would appreciate that.
We'll look at that for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. President.
Okay. Ms. Garland, thank you for coming, but I know that when we go to the national conferences for county commissioners, they talk about other programs that are out there to assist seniors where they're not comfortable in getting on the computer. It's my understanding that there are other programs that are put out there for them specifically. Are you all familiar with that, or?
We have done, as a company, we've certainly done digital literacy training. I mean, I've personally, in some other locations in like Terrebonne Parish, for instance, I mean, there's a big, huge senior citizen center there. I've done events there, and, you know, but as far as specifically here, any kind of digital literacy in the last 24 months, no, sir, we haven't done anything, but that doesn't mean we can't. And really, I would rely on, you know, your input, for instance, to you know, for something like that. If there's a need, you know, we're certainly willing to
Well, I think there's
consider
resources beyond you all that where they have programs for that. So we would definitely be looking at that. Having been a telecommunication engineer in another life, over 22 years, the other thing that I would warn you about when you're deploying broadband is to get your permits early on.
Yes, sir.
Because that can take quite a bit of time.
I appreciate you bringing that up, because that is one thing that I know we had a bridge a permit to get across, a levee permit actually, that we were trying to get. We're building a line from Monroe, Louisiana, all the way to Shreveport that's going to allow us to do a lot more than we're able to do today for the business community with multi-gig speeds and things like that. And that was one of the toughest permits to get, was that levee permit. And but it, you know, any relationships that I think Dr. Wilson, during one of our meetings, you know, he offered to help us, you know. So the permits, you are 100% correct, can be a let's just say not an obstacle, but it can slow you down sometimes.
Well, they have new technology in deploying fiber, like boring under.
That's correct.
Large, you know, waterways, but it still takes time for those permits.
It does.
So
that permit process is part of our timeline, and again.
Is there anything else from the commission?
Commissioner Burrow, I had a couple of questions I'd like to ask.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Copeland, could you tell me, will there be a phase 2? Be a second
for gumbo?
Yes.
That's a great question, Dr. Wilson. And there is going to be funding called BEAD, B-E-A-D funding. It's part of the federal government. And then I think the idea is that Gumbo submits their plan for the BEAD funding, and we think there's going to be another round. It may be into 2024 before it's actually out there. But we have every reason to believe today that there is going to be additional rounds of Gumbo funding for rural broadband. And I know one of the states that I work over in is Alabama, and they've already submitted their funding, their plan for 2024. And so, I'm sure Gumbo is Gumbo was one of the best run programs out of all the states that I've worked in. And so, I applaud them for what they've done. And I'm from Mississippi, and I can tell you our program we're still getting our program off the ground, and we've already got shovels ready to put in the ground here. So, it's well ahead.
That's good to hear. Hopefully we'll be in the line for that round 2.
Definitely.
My second question, Mr. Coleman, is if I could put you on the spot for a minute. If you can briefly tell me, what do you think government role is to help enhance the broadband delivery of services throughout our community rural areas? So we're interested in knowing what our role is. Could you kind of elaborate briefly on that, please?
Yeah, I think what Commissioner Burrell asked or talked about permits a while ago, that is taking down roadblocks that slow us down. That is certainly I tell every commission that I meet with or every board that is one way that you can help us as an organization, is if we do have if we do have things that might slow this down.
Okay.
Certainly, I think getting the word out at the end of a project, if we could do some kind of, kickoff, and certainly having the parish behind that, just as a partner in this, because again, it is a mix of, even though it's state funding and it's a mix of, we like to say we're a local business, so it's, certainly investing. So anything we could do to kind of propel that project forward, once we get it complete, we'd certainly like to do a kickoff type event.
Okay.
And really just getting the word out is the big thing. I mean, because, a lot of the areas we're going into, they are rural, and, we're gonna put our best marketing efforts behind it, but, anything that we could do just to promote the fact that it's available is certainly helpful to us.
Okay.
And, I think those are the top things that just come to mind, right up front.
Thank you for your response, and also thank you for coming today.
Happy to
we
be
really
here.
appreciate you being here and enlightening us. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm happy. I want to say Dr. Wilson has always been, if I need something, he's always been there to take my phone call, and I appreciate that
You're
too
welcome,
very
sir.
much.
Well, one other thing, Mr.
Yes, sir.
Calvin. You will be deploying cable in the same areas where there's existing services also, right?
Could
so
be,
people
yes,
may
sir.
may have a choice of services.
That is 100%
Because some
correct.
people complain about the services that they have is slow, and hopefully what you're deploying will be faster. I think even based upon federal regulations. I'm not sure what the speed is, the speed requirement, but I know they're trying to get to 100. Is that
We'll have gigabit speeds available everywhere, and this fiber to the home technology will be able to do some advanced upload speeds as well. We're actually doing a project here in the parish today to help us take those upload speeds up, and again, having this line that we're actually connecting Jackson all the way to Shreveport, and that was a 100-mile route from Monroe to here that we're just now completing. So the work that we're doing kind of behind the scenes on Comcast effort is going to help us with all the speeds. And,
well, it's so important because education is changing so, and in many cases the new technology takes more speed than what's out there.
It
and
does.
You may as well not even have the facility if you can't use it, like video. So it's so important that whatever we put out there is not just for today, hopefully it's for the future.
Yeah, that's, I would say everything we're building is scalable to what the future holds for us. I mean, that's the best way I can, everything that we're going to be deploying in this 400 plus miles. It may actually be probably closer to 420 miles when it's all said and done, but every bit of that will be scalable to go to what the whole, what the future holds for us.
Again, thank you for coming.
I appreciate it very much. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. Mr. Clerk? Oh, I'm sorry. Dr. Wilson, are you finished with your?
No, sir, I'm not finished yet, sir.
Okay.
Just real quickly, we have, in the juvenile detention, we have 25 kids today. 7 are awaiting OJJ transportation to other places. We have 6 of the 25 are 17-year-olds, and we have 15 kids. We have 15 kids in CCC, and you all know, seeing that every passing week that number's growing, but it's only indicative to the seriousness of the crimes being committed by young people. Just be aware. COVID-19 cases, we only had 1 infection reported for the organization month to date, and we have 1 agency outside reported 1 case of COVID infection. So the numbers are still incredibly low, and we thank God they are that low. You should have at your stations the March financial report, and also you should have gotten a copy of the Caddo Parish Student Commissioner for a Day agenda, time schedule. If you haven't gotten that, I'll make sure we email you that. Okay, we'll make sure everyone get in the email. Let you know what's going to take place. We develop this for the children, and when they come, we'll have a structured program for them when they get here on Thursday. to take them around the various departments and share with them about the experience by county government and what we actually do at the department level. And then we also, we'll take them over for lunch as well, and then have them back in time for the evening commission meeting.
Now, you're saying that, you say that, or you send an email out with?
I'll make sure you get the schedule for the day to kind of see, you can see what the kids will be going through when they come and visit with us on Thursday.
Okay.
Is this a structured program, outlines where at, what facilities they're going to visit, and who they'll be interacting with. I'll make sure you get that copy. I'm not sure how I got it, but I apologize. I'll make sure you get it.
Okay.
Okay?
Anything else?
Yes, that concludes my report for the day, sir, unless you have something for me.
Commissioner Johnson?
Thank you, Mr. President. Dr. Wilson, you said that there's 25 juveniles that we have in custody right now.
Yes, sir.
And 11 of those at CCC?
No,
15?
sir. No.
15?
We have.
So it's 25 plus 15?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so
That's
that's
correct.
40 altogether.
That's correct.
Okay, what's the capacity at CCC?
Capacity of CCC?
Yeah, for our juvenile section.
Well, that's a tricky question. And the design capacity for facility is 1,070.
Right.
And a lot of the kids had to be intermingled with the adult population for various safety concerns.
Okay.
And we don't have a set number, a pod separate just for the children.
Okay.
We don't have the luxury of space for that.
Okay, so we got 15 over there with
Yes, sir.
still room to grow if we need it.
Yes.
All right, and then we're waiting for OJJ to pick up 6.
Yes, 7.
7.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do we have a timeline on when they're supposed to pick those up? And are they picking them up from CCC or picking them up from the juvenile?
No, from juvenile.
Okay.
For the children at CCC, they are a product of the district court function right now with the DA.
Okay.
So they wouldn't be picked up until their cases been adjudicated one way or the other.
Okay.
And which every 30 days we have to give reason for keeping them there.
Right.
And of course that takes place timely. The 7, we constantly in contact with OJJ about getting kids out of our facility, but there's a tremendous problem with the state. They don't have the space for these kids. And that's the problem. So the state backup is affecting us.
Right. We got a problem too. We don't have the space. They need to be gone.
Yeah, that's correct. So I think Clay and the judges interact with OJJ on a daily basis about when could you move a kid. And right now they're telling us, it's very difficult because they don't have an abundance of space.
Okay.
Statewide.
So we couldn't transport them down there and drop them off.
No, sir. Jump them off to where?
At OJJ and let them handle the situation.
The problem is they can't find bed space.
Okay. So do they have a plan?
To give you a more detailed explanation. I hope I'm hitting the high points, but
I want to hear OJJ plan.
Okay.
OJJ gives us a regular plan. Just this morning, and Dr. Wilson's correct, just this morning a group emailed all the judges, the leadership at OJJ. We asked what the plan was for the 7. They tell us every child what the plan is, there's which group home they're accepted to, waiting for that bed to open up. So Rutherford House, for example, has the number of beds here. They've got to get one of those children out of Rutherford House to take another kid in. And so it's just waiting for that. That child is on a court schedule out of somewhere else in the state. We've got to wait for them to get out for that bed to open up. But OJJ gives us a plan for every kid. They're planning on, they'll say one is going to go Thursday. We're waiting on a bed at Rutherford House. Another kid is going to go in 2 weeks. When that bed opens up, they've got a plan. It's a matter of trying to push them as hard as we can push them.
So they try to keep all the ones in Caddo Parish, or do they try to push them further out?
Depends on the child. There's some kids we definitely try to keep in Caddo because we want to be able to have their parents still visit them as easily as possible. There are others, if they're runaway threats, that they try to put them in somewhere not too close. They'll put them in South Louisiana, because if you put them here in Highland, they'll run immediately. So it depends on the child.
Okay. And do we ever push back on their plans and say, well, we need the space, we need to get them out, we need to send them further out?
The law says that they have 14 days to get them out. So on the 14th day, the judge could order them to get them out. We don't care where, what they care, but get them out and put them somewhere, but they must be out or you'll be held in contempt. They come to that hearing and they basically say, we have literally nowhere to put them. The judges have gotten to the point where they say, not my problem, that's the state's funding problem. They'll be out of our detention center by the close of business.
So
Sometimes they have to go to that route.
Are we approaching 14 days on any of the 7?
All 7 are over 14 days.
And we still got them?
Correct. They're given extensions, sometimes by the court, sometimes they're not given an extension. It is kind of a case-by-case basis. I think the judges are trying to work with the state in a reasonable way, and they're also trying to push the state if they feel like they're not getting, if they want to certainly see that Caddo is getting fair treatment, that other parishes aren't getting their kids placed before we are. That should be in a cycle that's fair.
Okay, and these are our judges that are?
Yes.
Okay, asking for extensions.
Correct. Well, the OJJ is asking for the extension of the 14 days, and our judges are sometimes granting that and sometimes not.
All right, so do our judges know we got 25 in?
Absolutely. That's a regular conversation we have every day, yes. And if you, just to keep up, April and May always are 2 worst months of the year. This is just almost all of April and May we're going to be at capacity.
Okay. Well, if we got room in CCC with the ones that are 17, I can understand how we can transfer them over.
To be clear, the ones at CCC are charged as adults.
Right.
So it's only for armed robbery, rape, and murder.
Yeah, violent.
Correct. So if they're transferred to adult, those 15 are all there to be tried as adults.
Okay. All right, that's all I have.
Commissioner Young.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is mostly for you, Dr. Wilson, but it's on the same issue. Commissioner Johnson asked if we had a separate place in CCC for the juveniles who were kept there. Before the pandemic, when I visited CCC, they were kept in a 16-bed facility that was separate from the adults.
Mm-hmm.
And every time we've had a juvenile committee meeting and every time we talk about this, I say, when are they going to be able to go back into that facility instead of being kept with adults in the jail that's overcrowded?
Before you leave, 4-Hers, before you leave, I had a message for you as it relates to what we're talking about right here. Maybe you all can help us resolve some of these issues. I think it's good that you all are here today to hear what we're talking about here. We have to deal with these situations dealing with our juveniles. And sometimes it is our juveniles that make recommendations that could actually help us. So from that perspective, go ahead. I'm sorry, because they were getting ready to get up and leave.
Yes, sir.
The president wants you to stay.
Yes, sir.
But you can go.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, Dr. Wilson,
yes,
so every time I've brought up the issue that we have a 16-bed area that's separate that would be perfect for keeping our juveniles who are charged as adults, we've been told that there aren't enough staff in the sheriff's department at CCC to manage that facility. Are you still having conversations with him about that?
Yes,
Is there going to be any change?
Yes, sir. I had lunch with the sheriff last Wednesday, and we talked about manpower issues. And between the city of Shreveport and the sheriff's department, we're about 200 officers short. And the last time I talked to them specifically about the children, some of them are gang members, and they cannot be kept in the same area, and that's why they dispersed them throughout the facility so they wouldn't get into fights.
Well, I remember that, but I remember that, but I also remember when I visited this, they had kids in there who didn't get along, and they let some of them out at some times and kept the others locked in their rooms at other times.
Yes,
and that seems like an easy way to fix that gang problem. Like, if half of them hate the other half, let out the half who all get along.
Yes, sir.
Or stagger them,
Yes, sir.
I wish that we could get some actual progress on this instead of,
okay,
like, every time I've asked this question, you've given me the same answer.
Yes.
And I think that they're in unconstitutional conditions there. So I think we should do more somehow for those kids in CCC.
Okay. The answer was the same because the situation remained the same with respect to overcrowding there too. But we average about 1,350 inmates, and the facility is designed for 1,070. So the space is premium and limited over there as well. But I certainly would make it another run at extra shift the question again. Is there any way we can isolate? But it seems to me the population of youngsters is growing. So that's going to further limit what they could do.
Okay.
But I'll go back and actually go ahead.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Commissioner Jackson?
I hate to prolong the conversation,
Yes, sir.
but I thought my understanding was something different. I thought that they were segregated or isolated from the adults. That's what I thought I took away.
It was situational in a small amounts.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, when you get a large amount of kids, it's difficult to do that. And the last time my conversation with the sheriff was based on the fact that someone were gang members, they couldn't do that. But I'll revisit it, but I think that's why for safety of the inmates, they dispersed them because they didn't want them all in one area when they had different gang affiliations.
That's interesting. We've attended the same meetings,
Okay.
heard the same thing, but walked away with two different perspectives
meaning
because
that?
I thought it was the other way around.
Okay, hold on for 1 second.
Yeah, no.
Hey, Clay?
Hey, I always thought it was the other
perspective
way.
wrong on this, Clay? You can help.
My understanding, the last time I was there, all of the juveniles are in the intake unit. It's a 160-bed intake unit. They're all there, and they are with adults. And so what they do is they rotate on a staggering basis. The juveniles have to rotate out separately from each other because they do have problems with each other. But I do believe that means they rotate out with some adults. So they're in the intake unit. They used to be in a separate housing unit. They're now in the all
I
in the
need to
intake
go
unit.
see, because you keep saying they're with adults, but then you said they're separated.
So it's 160 cells, and a juvenile's in a cell by themselves. They rotate out, say 2 p.m. is the time they get out. Well, when they get out, so do 6 other adults. Those 160 beds are all rotating out during the day. They're not all out at the same time. So because they're not in a separate juvenile unit, they are rotating out with adults. But my understanding is they are housed, the cells are juveniles only.
But there is a completely separate unit that was originally just set aside for juveniles only though, right?
That's my understanding. Same as Commissioner Young was saying, that there used to be a juvenile unit, and I believe the problem was, and on the details of this, I would defer to the staff there at CCC, but my understanding was, like Commissioner Young is saying,
speaking into his future.
Yeah, exactly. Right. No, the idea that that unit, if there were 15 juveniles in one unit, that it was a constant fight. That it was just they were constantly causing trouble, causing the emergency staff to have to respond, and
but
so
from,
they
from an
dispersed.
operational perspective or a functional perspective, it's not our
We do not have the authority over that.
Right.
Correct.
But let me ask you this though: has anybody monitored or inquired or said whether the fights have gone up or down, or have they stayed the same with this new setup?
I've gone out there, I'm trying to remember 3 or 4 times that I've gone out there to put my own eyes on these kids, because I do think they're still part of our responsibility. I can just tell you, I think Commander Ferris, they're doing the best they can with the staff they have. I believe in Commander Ferris. He does good work.
That wasn't a yes or a no, so I guess I need to call Commander Ferris to get or can I just set some time up, maybe you could walk me out there or something?
Absolutely. I think they would definitely welcome that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I just, it seems like it's kind of whirling around, but of course we have no control over what goes on out there, and they're not our responsibility either, right?
They're not technically, no.
That's
Once
correct.
they're transferred to district court and transferred to CCC, they are no longer under juvenile
And
jurisdiction.
they're not in that number you just gave either, right?
No, sir, those numbers are separate.
Right, okay.
Correct.
Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. President.
Commissioner Carlton?
You know, as I sit here and hear this entire process, I'm trying to make sense out of it from the perspective that it hasn't always been like this. Am I correct?
That it has always?
Has not.
Has not always been like this, no.
So for the public, short version, what has occurred to bring us to this particular point with young people being over CCC and some other things that's going on as far as the number of beds and things of this nature?
Historically, we have transferred juveniles that were tried as adults to CCC, and they were kept in a separate unit. I would say, if my recollection is right, 4 or 5 years ago, 2019, 2020, it became either by the children's behavior that they could not be kept in one unit together because they would fight constantly, and I think a combination of staff shortage with the sheriff's department. I think, you know, as Dr. Wilson said, all law enforcement is suffering from that staff shortage. It's that's made the change. We saw an increase in gang activity roughly 2018 is when it started, and that's what you're seeing now is these kids can't be housed in one unit because the week before they came to CCC, they were shooting each other on the street.
How does the unfunded mandate affects this?
So the 17-year-olds came to us, I think, ultimately in 2019, and so that adds to it. It did two things. It takes away about 25% of our detention beds are now 17-year-olds, and so it puts more stress on our population. The 17-year-olds that used to go to state custody adult corrections are now at OJJ, and that's why OJJ is backed up. The reason OJJ, they're now holding 100 or so 17-year-olds and can't take the 7 kids we're trying to get out. Those beds are taken by a lot of 17-year-olds. So that added to it as well.
Thank you.
Commissioner Chavez.
Thank you, President. I can address the question about the juveniles in the hotel, the pod, the intake. They're not fighting at all because the adults and the juveniles do not come out together whatsoever. They have to let out one juvenile at a time because if they let out more than one juvenile at a time, they will jump on each other and fight to show a force to all the other juveniles that are watching the windows. Likewise, when I was there last month, they would not let a juvenile out with the adult population because they would fight the adults as well to show their aggression. So sadly, they're in there the majority of the day while the adults are out. Until the adults go in, they get to come out for 1 hour at a time, each individual by themselves. And that's the only way they can do it so that they won't fight with each other. It's the only solution they have. Thanks, President.
Okay. Just as a final comment, as I was sitting here listening to this, and I go back to these young people who we just had in here, who is actually the leadership in their schools. I think it was kind of prophetic for them to be here today, for them to hear the things that we got to deal with that comes to us, that comes out of the schools, because many of these youngsters were in school. And we have this situation that is very critical. And I wish there was some way that we could take the commission into your schools and talk about that in front of them. I think it would make a lot of sense because you are separated sometimes from the reality of what goes on around you. And your community is not walled off. These same individuals we're talking about would be in your community tomorrow. So you have an invested interest in trying to help come up with solutions. So that's the reason why I wanted you all to hear this. Again, thank you. And I'm glad about your mental club. Maybe some of these can go to your mental club. Okay. Commissioner Gage-Wise.
Thank you, Mr. President. Dr. Wilson, last week we had a Public Safety and Justice Committee meeting with NACO, and of course this issue was the hot topic about where we are with juveniles. Is something that we're facing across the nation, and of course, as you mentioned, with the law enforcement agencies having those shortages. I'm going to forward the information, all of the notes that was discussed in that meeting to you, because there are 2 initiatives that I would like to take a close look at. Okay. And as a caveat to what President Burrell said about he wished that commissioners could go into the schools, we can. Each commissioner could take a day to go into the schools and to talk to our youth. All you need to do is set it up with their principals. Thank you.
Okay, with that, Mr. Clerk.
Okay, that now brings us to commission remarks, communiques, reports, and other items related to the work session agenda.
I have one other here. Dr. Wilson, do we have any type of program in terms of communication coming out of our communications department that we can somehow express to the public, especially these 2 months that we're talking about? We're getting into this critical time period when youngsters are getting out of school. Just on the national news, just here yesterday in Alabama, they had a party. It had to do with them getting out of school, is what I understand. Four kids were killed, and I don't know how many were shot up. That same thing normally happens here during the end of school. Are we involved? Do we put out any message? The city should. I don't see why the parish can't. The school board should, to try to inform the parents or caution the parents during this time about their kids getting out of school and trying to keep a better tab on them during this period. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I do. And I would suggest that we, our current communication manager, she does a pretty good job of doing the pulse of the parish. Perhaps we can emphasize one of those months or resequence what we're doing and cover juvenile and this issue for one of those months, beginning in April. Since April, you said March, April is the highest month we have. Maybe we could sequence this and do it in March, the beginning, the pulse of the parish. It's covered more in depth in juvenile issues, and particularly related to this matter and the increasing in crimes, juvenile crimes that come along during this time. So we'll resequence what we're doing.
Yeah, I would like to see Clay get with them and
yes,
you all come up with something, because
yes,
this is a critical
that's
stage. I remember when my kids graduating, I was very cautious during this period of time, because so many of them was, they may not have been directly involved, but they are around those who are, and their safety was at stake. Okay, with that, Commission, I don't have anybody else on the commission remarks. Mr. Clerk.
That brings us into the President's report. Did you have a President's report today?
No, I'm good.
Okay, we'll move forward. We have no old business scheduled, so that brings us to new business, where you have a number of items scheduled today. The first, 11.1, is to consider advancing the introduction of Ordinance 6322 of 2023. That's related to the Parish Zoning Commission and case number 23-1 CTAP. That's an ordinance to amend Volume 2 of the Code of Ordinances of the Parish of Caddo as amended, the Caddo Parish Unified Development Code, relative to wireless telecommunications, with all their provisions included herein and otherwise provided with respect thereto.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Jackson, second by Commissioner Gage Watts. Commissioner Jackson?
I was going to say, in the interest of time, we can in Globo and advance 11.1, 11.2, 11.3, and 11.4. They all seem to be zoning issues or MPC, PZC, whatever we saying.
Okay, it's been motioned by Commissioner Jackson, second by Commissioner Gage Watts, that we in Globo 11.1, 2, 3, and 4.
And if we could maybe just get do y'all have a little short one sheet on what all of these are and do? Could y'all just do that, just a one sheeter on what they do, what they don't do, and to attach, maybe get it to Jeff.
Okay, I had seen Commissioner Johnson. Are you still on? Okay, Commissioner Atkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think Commissioner Jackson's request for a one-sheet explanation on these 4 items will suffice from me, so thank you very much. I'm good.
Commissioner Epperson? Same. Okay.
Yeah, I do.
All right, we can vote. Commissioner Hopkins?
Yeah, I would you please look at, I lost it again. Never mind, I'll get with legal. There's one word in there that probably needs to be changed. It says city, and it probably should say parish. Okay, that's all it is. Thank you.
Okay, we can vote.
And that motion carries with 10 in support, 1 in opposition, and 1 absent. That brings us now to 11.5, which is considering advancing the introduction of Ordinance 6326 of 2023. That's an ordinance amending the budget of the Oil and Gas Fund and the Riverboat Fund to appropriate money for the Safe Summer program.
Motion by Commissioner Young, second by Commissioner Gage Watts. Commissioner Young. Commissioner Jackson.
Yes, thank you. This is a motion. I spoke with administration as well as Parks and Rec. We all know that we rolled some funding over forward, and that funding has sort of exhausted that we rolled over from last year was unused, a balance. And so this is to kind of re-up. I did get a note to make sure that we try to make sure that that our funding is sustained at least through October. They want to try to make this stretch through October. So just remember that as you are doing programming and things of that nature. But I think everybody in that district has an opportunity to utilize these funds, particularly when you have events, those small community level events that are going on in your district, and you see how impactful it can be. And so particularly with the summer months coming up, this gives us an opportunity to be proactive, and I do believe we always get a pretty thorough report on the impact. We never say that this is going to stop violence, or we never say that this is going to cease anything, but I think those that we do help and those communities that we are able to help, they appreciate it, and I always receive positive feedback from the community on those events. So if we could forward this, and please get with Parks and Rec if you have any questions on it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, Commissioner Gage Watts.
Thank you, Mr. President. I agree, and I would like to be added as a sponsor to this legislation. This is an important initiative for our communities, and Parks and Rec has been doing a great job in keeping our youth and just absolutely our entire community with positive initiatives throughout the year. It's not just for the summer, and we have been able to use these funds towards those initiatives. So I am in support of this and would like to be added as a sponsor. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, I would too, Jeff. Jeff. Okay, Commissioner Atkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to comment on this matter, throw my support to this as well. You know, in the past, we've looked at these more critically, but we've come to realize how important it is to keep our young people engaged in positive ways and off the streets and doing things that where they learn positive skills and teamwork and camaraderie. So I'll support this initiative. Thank you, Commissioner Jackson, for submitting.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Well, I appreciate that, Commissioner Atkins. I think I sent you all an email about another positive youth program that's coming up, actually this coming weekend, I believe it is, that is being put on by a former bull rider. He was a young man who was retired out of it. Now he's in film, but he had such a passion for youngsters, and he was concerned about all the violence and everything. And so he has a sort of a mentoring life skill program, and I worked with the administration to see if we could include that as part of our Safe Summer, and would appreciate if you all would look at that email. I sent an email to everybody about it, and hopefully you all will participate. Commissioner Jackson.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. I forgot, I'm reading it, and I didn't see where we mentioned, I would just like for the record to make sure that, I don't know if that needs to be an amendment, but to note that we did get recognized at 2022 NACO, or was that 21 NACO for our Safe Summer program. So if we could add that in, and if I need to do it as an amendment at final adoption, I just want that to be noted in the record, is that we have received national recognition for this program. So.
Yeah, we need that and more, Commissioner Jackson. Okay, with that in mind, there's a motion by Commissioner Young and a second by Commissioner Gage Watts. We can vote.
And that motion carries with 11 in support, none in opposition, and 1 absent. That brings us now to consideration of advancing resolution number 20 of 2023. That's a resolution urging and requesting the Louisiana Legislature, Governor, and Secretary of State to implement hand-marked paper ballots and otherwise providing with respect thereto.
Motion by Commissioner Young and second by Commissioner Lazarus. Commissioner Young.
Thank you, Mr. President. I put this on the agenda because right now our state government, under the Secretary of State's office, is considering a $100 million purchase for digital devices to mark voter choices simply and intuitively at the voting booth. I believe that this type of system, a digital voting system, at best simulates paper and pen. And so it occurs to me that it would be wise for us to consider our oldest and most reliable form of record keeping, which is paper, and save some of that money. Further, all digital devices are subject to digital interference. And concerns about this cross party lines. In 2016, there were widespread rumors about hacking of our election machines by Russia. In 2020, we all know the accusations and claims that have been made about that election. I think it would be wise for us to comment on this issue to the state government, since we have a lot to do with administering elections here in Caddo. And I think it would also be wise of us to try to take these risks of digital interference off the table, using our most reliable technology, again, for record keeping, which is paper. For instance, our clerk's office here at the commission, they have lots of digital copies of everything, but they also keep a paper copy for their records because they know that paper can't be interfered with, can't be erased, and it's the most reliable. Further, I think this has a beneficial consequence for our citizenry. Instead of purchasing expensive devices to mark ballots for us, these devices would be manufactured in another state with out-of-state labor. Why not use paper and pen to vote and then save some money, which we could then invest in our people by paying them to learn to facilitate in our elections, to be more involved in the process, to grow more confidence in our elections, and to get paid something for their work. And all the money that they'd be paid for this civic activity would stay in our Louisiana economy. Many states already do this. California is the largest example. It's the largest state. They vote by paper. Also, very small states like Vermont do this. They use paper ballots. We already use them here in Caddo Parish for absentee ballots, and these are all considered very reliable. So I think this prevents any chance of hacking. I think it allows us to save a lot of money, and I think it would vastly improve citizen confidence and participation in our election process. And so I wanted us to have a conversation about it and hopefully learn more about it over the coming week if we vote to move it forward. Each of you has in your inbox a compilation of press sources that I compiled and commented on for your reference to learn more about paper ballots. It's a new topic for me, but I think it's a salient one in our state discourse right now, and we all have an election coming up and another one to follow that and many more afterwards. So I hope that you'll all consider it carefully and vote to move it forward for further discussion. Thank you.
Commissioner Epperson.
I see that Secretary of State Kyle Ardoin, he isn't running anymore. And I saw in some of his reason for not. He just looked like he's just disenchanted because of all of this stuff that's been coming up lately about out of all the years that we have been voting and holding viable elections, then the last couple of years or so we coming up like it's a fraud and it's a big mess. And I just don't think I would want to give that appearance to anyone that our system is compromised. We can send unmanned spacecraft to Mars, make a soft landing, analyze data, send back photos, all digital. We pay our utility bills. We bank via the digital process. Then when I think about some of you that may not be familiar with the way that the military kept our records on paper in St. Louis, Missouri at the Personnel Records Center, which a fire destroyed it. And you know, the only thing that really saved some of them and stopped a hassle was that as we progress, they come out with what they call microfiche back in those days. We had the microfiche system. So someone had the wherewithal to have the microfiche up in the VA system in Arlington, Virginia, which helped save a lot of heartaches as far as benefits and things toward our veterans. It's just unconscionable to me that all of a sudden, all these years that we have been voting, now for some reason, all of a sudden, everything that we do, the elections are flawed. Talking about machines got things in it from Venezuela. Look at the suit that's going on between, I think, Fox and Dominion, the one that made the machines. Then we look at, I think we need to talk to our registered voter. Hey, what do you think about, paper ballot? That's going to require more personnel. Humans can make errors too. But this stuff is here, and I think it's basically pretty accurate. Of course, we have situations just like the, every once in a while somebody get hacked, but I think that what we've had in place on our election system has been adequate, and I think all of this brouhaha that's brought out now is another way of diverting us and causing so much dissension within our nation. I'm satisfied with what we have now, and I hope that we will go forward with the digital machines, which I think they are capable of handling that. And you can always back up the backup. Our computers, I back my computer system up. You know what I mean? I worked for a company that we backed up everything. 12 o'clock at midnight, we backed up everything still. Backed up the backup. So I'm just not in support of this, because I get these people come down here saying something's wrong with our elections and stealing and cheating and all that. I just don't buy it. Thank you.
Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I follow some of the same statements that Commissioner Epperson said. I also remember that this body voted down to have ballot boxes located throughout the parish, and that would have been by paper as well. So if we voted down ballot boxes, why would we even talk about having paper ballots? Next thing is, if I can remember well, Florida is a state that uses paper ballots, and we know what happened with the elections in Florida. There's always some kind of controversy that goes on. When you're taking those paper ballots from the precinct and taking them to a central location to count, there's plenty of opportunities to hamper with the votes en route to that location. Paper ballots have disappeared. They have been stuck somewhere, and they found them 3 or 4 months later saying that these ballots didn't get counted. With the system that we have now, it's more up to date. When you vote, your vote is counted, and basically they do a double check at the precinct. They take them in, and we're one of the first states to report where we are. I don't think we need to go back in time to do paper ballots, because when you're talking about propositions and amendments, that's just going to confuse people even more than it would be by voting on machine. So, because I think the last election that they had absentee voting, it was like 3 or 4 pages that they had to actually vote with all the propositions and the amendments that were on there. That was just overwhelming with a lot of seniors. So I would be in favor of keeping it as a machine voting that we do with the options of absentee voting as well. But to have the mass to go in with paper and to have all that paper transported throughout the parish and throughout the state, I just don't feel comfortable in the state of Louisiana with that. That's all I have.
Commissioner Gage-Watts.
Thank you, Mr. President. As I can appreciate an additional tool for voting, this is one that I cannot support. Thank you, Commissioner Johnson, for bringing up the fact that it's not California who are using paper and pen to vote. They have one of the most intelligent voting systems. You can actually vote using your mobile devices in California. They are continuing to evolve in the technology era that we are in. Louisiana is last in a whole lot of things, and I just do not support seeing us go backwards with paper and pen. The Federal Election Commission also supports the machines that we're currently using. We had the clerk of court as well as our registrar of voters to come down to talk about issues and the reliability of the machines that we're currently using. I think that this is an effort for us to stand together. As I said, I can appreciate your idea, but standing together to say that the machines that we're currently using can be trusted. The worst thing that we can do right now with Louisiana is to encourage voter apathy, because it already exists. So let's continue to move forward, continue to use the machines, support the initiative to purchase newer machines so that we can continue to be resilient and respect our democracy. Thank you.
Commissioner Atkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. I respect Commissioner Young's underlying concern about the integrity of the electronic systems. You know, there are certainly risks in electronic systems, but there are also risks, to Commissioner Johnson's point, there are risks in paper systems as well. You know, I think the ideal world would have both electronic and paper, and I spoke with Parish Clerk Mike Spence this morning, and he told me that they were actually working towards a program that would have both an electronic system with a paper backup, which that was actually the system that they had recommended to the Secretary of State. They, meaning the Clerk Support Association, I think it was. So maybe we'll get there. I don't know, but to me, that redundant system with both an electronic data and a paper backup would be the best of both worlds for me. I feel like going just pure paper is going kind of in the wrong, taking a step back and going back in the wrong direction. So I respect the spirit of this initiative, but I won't be supporting it moving forward. Thank you.
Commissioner Jackson.
Yes, I was going to ask, I guess Commissioner Atkins was reading my mind. I was going to ask if between now and Thursday, since this is just a resolution, can there be some language to make this a more inclusive resolution so that it's not a zero-sum situation? And y'all can get together with legal or with Mike and Dale, whoever, and make this a more inclusive, because you know, to be one-sided on anything, I mean, it doesn't matter. I much prefer the electronic means, but what happens if the power goes out? I know we have backup generators. I don't have any hard feelings either way. I think the whole thing has been amplified by the previous president, who just makes up whatever he wants. But I'm with those who said the Secretary of State has just become exasperated with it. And I saw him in the Capitol the other day, and he just wore out over an issue that shouldn't be as difficult as it is. And so, I mean, I really and truly would like to see some combination of something or whatever. So if we move it forward today, I don't know if it'll pass today, but do something to incorporate some more inclusive language in it or something. So, thank you, Mr. President.
Commissioner Hopkins.
Yeah, I'm one of those that's always been kind of reluctant to paper too. There's an aspect to it that worries me. But Mr. Young did send some information. I did read over some of it, and there is both sides. There's the good and the bad. But what Texas seems to be using is a pretty good deal, in that it's like a paper function, but then it's scanned up into their system. So you've got that backup and the electronic. So it's maybe a combination of both, kind of like Mr. Atkins said. So I'd be acceptable to doing something, you know, that mirrors that type of program or that type of system. Now, we all know that's still up to the Secretary of State, whoever that will be, to bring it to the legislature and get it approved. But I mean, I think we ought to, even if we don't move this forward today, we ought to continue to look and see if there is a better way to do it and make those suggestions if we need to. Thank you.
Commissioner Young?
Thank you, Mr. President. Just briefly, if anybody wants to offer an amendment to this this week or in the future, I'd be happy to talk about it with you. And thank you so much for the discussion.
Commissioner Chavez?
I'd like to make a motion to move this to a committee so we could, I'll make the motion to move it to long range and I could speak on it if I get a second.
Second.
Thank you, Chair. I think everybody's heard everybody's comments on here, and I feel like we're all kind of in the middle on this, where we don't want to get rid of our electronic, but simultaneously we want to keep our paper trail. And if we can combine a hybrid model by looking in the committee to formulate a better resolution that's representative of all 12 board members to send down to the Secretary of State, I think that's the way we should go. So if you guys could vote with me, and we'll send it to a committee, we'll research it, we'll come together with the language that fits everybody's needs, and then we'll go on from there. Thank you, Chair.
Which committee, Mr. Chairman? Which committee was proposed? Long range?
Can I say something, Mr. President, on that? If not,
Commissioner
go ahead,
Epperson,
please.
then you. Commissioner Epperson.
I'm not going to be supportive of sending to a committee. I think I heard the other day that somebody said we have too many committee meetings. Basically, this should have been sent to a committee initially before the resolution was brought up. So I think the thing would be to we vote this down, and if whomever's the chair of the long range planning committee or whatever, take that issue up just arbitrarily at a particular given point in time, and let's move on. Thank you.
Commissioner Hopkins?
Well, I was just going to say, we might want to look at other. We've got a lot of stuff in long range, and we might be a different committee would want to look at that because we've got 4 or 5 items already.
Policy and procedure?
I don't know if that fits.
Don't fit.
Yeah. So it may be only long range, but we might want to look at that before we say move it to a certain committee or just.
Well, is there any type of deadline to get it to the legislature?
I don't think there is.
Well, I wanted to make a comment on that too. I recognize what Commissioner Young is saying too, but your paper ballot is not foolproof. I would like to see digital from the standpoint of expediency. Paper could back it up as a backup. If there's some question on the digital side, then you can always have the paper to back it up. But going paper by itself, I just don't see that from my perspective. So that's the reason I didn't have a problem. If you wanted to send it to a committee, that's fine. I understand you've got too many things in there, but I would never vote on it just for a paper ballot and not having the digital part because it's going to slow down the process so much. Okay, Commissioner Jackson.
Yeah, I'll just note that I don't necessarily know that there is a rush on this because I think all of the bills that have been filed for this session have been filed, and I do believe it's a fiscal session. Anybody?
Yeah.
It's a fiscal session, so they're probably at their limits already on non-fiscal bills anyway.
I think they can only do 5.
Right, so they can only do 5 that are not fiscal related, and those would have to have been filed back in February, I believe. So, but in the absence of that, I think there's some ad hoc committee at the state, and the governor ultimately gets the final say on how it goes. And so I think it's like the election commission and then the Secretary of State, then it finally goes to the governor for his approval or not. So if we want to put it in committee, I'd be fine with that. I just don't know that it's worth us. I'm not hard pressed either way.
Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you.
Call for the question on the substitute motion
Second.
and the original motion.
Second.
Okay, the question has been called on the substitute motion and the original by Commissioner Johnson and by Commissioner Calderon, and second by Commissioner Johnson.
I made the motion, so I can't say.
I know you made the motion, but your name is not up on my board as the motion.
Digital error.
It's not a digital error. I think Commissioner Carlson just beat him to the punch.
I had the floor.
So,
if I had
let
the
me,
floor,
let me
anybody
ask
make a
our
motion.
clerk, are you going by what's on here, or about what the people say?
We do, but we make a note in these votes. There is a note category where we can say, you know, if somebody, for instance, what happens often. Many of you are used to, you know, making the motion verbally, as opposed to, you know, pushing a button first before you say it, and we understand that. So we just note that in there, and then the person who made the motion verbally.
The question here, does it override? Does it override it? If
No,
not,
I mean, I think the record reflects what's accurate is that Commissioner Johnson made the motion and then it was seconded. So we make that note in there, and then when we do the minutes, we make it correct to what occurred in the meeting.
Okay. All right, well, based on the correction, motion by Commissioner Johnson, seconded by Commissioner Calden. All right. We can vote. Calling for the question only.
What you said?
Right, so this is a vote to call for the question.
That's on the substitute as well as the original. Correct.
And Commissioner Cawthorn, did you have a?
Can't speak.
No, no. Did he have a request? Just clear it out. There you go.
Let's vote.
That motion carries with 11 in support, none in opposition, and 1 absent. That takes us then to the substitute motion.
Okay. A motion by Commissioner Chavez, seconded by Commissioner Burrell. We can
This
vote.
is to send to committee, right?
Send to committee.
And that motion carries with 7 in support, 4 in opposition, and 1 absent.
Actually, should have been a no, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. So
It wouldn't change the result.
Right.
let the record reflect that the Commissioner Jackson's vote is a nay.
Thank you.
Okay, and that still passes by 6 to 5 with 1 absent.
Okay, Mr. Clerk.
And that brings us now to let's see, the consideration of the advancing Resolution 21 of 2023. That's a resolution authorizing the acceptance of the Louisiana Compliance Questionnaire, which is attached.
Motion by Commissioner Jackson, seconded by Commissioner Gage Watts. Commissioner Jackson.
Yeah, just in the interest of time, I'd like to make a motion to englobo and advance the Louisiana Compliance Questionnaire, the special resolution for Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Island Heritage Month, the special resolution recognition for fair housing that does not have to be presented, the special resolution for Public Service Week, special resolution for Christopher Cole, special resolution for the Air Force Reserve, special resolution proclaiming Geneva Moore Day. I don't think we presented that one, right? Thursday, okay. And advance the appointment for the parish administrator, advance county government month, and to remove Winifred Jackson as a visitor for Thursday.
I'll second with a correction, Mr. President.
Okay. Well, it's
The
Commissioner
whole agenda,
Jackson.
basically.
Sorry?
Basically the rest of the agenda.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Jackson, seconded by Commissioner Gage Watts. Commissioner Gage Watts.
Yes, sir. I have 2 items that, Mr. Clerk, the item for 1110 and 11:8. The redacted versions on there do not include my name. So if you could just make sure that I'm on there as the sponsor.
I'm sorry, you said the attachments don't have your name?
Correct.
Oh, they will. I'm sorry, those are just drafts.
Okay.
But thank you for mentioning that, but they certainly will.
That's it.
Okay, and on 11.8, add my name as a sponsor, if you would, and 10. Okay, Mr. Clerk, could you repeat those that we can go vote on this one? I thought 11.9 was left out.
The rest of the agenda.
So yeah, that is items 11, let's see, 11.7, through 11:15 and Globo and adopt, and then to remove item 11.16.
Okay. All right, Commissioner Atkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Clerk, I don't actually need this 75th anniversary document this week. I know we have to vote on everything. I just thought if we could prepare it, then I could present it to the commander of the 307th on their anniversary in June. So no rush on that, but I know we need to, I guess everybody will need to see what we're voting on. But
sure. No, we'll have it prepared, but I'll make the note that it won't be for presentation that day.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, Commissioner Epperson.
Mr. Atkins, I would like to go with you on that presentation.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I meant to invite whoever is interested.
And I noticed you stated we all Army guys, Chavez and Mr. Carlton, but I have been on a mission with the 307. Plus, the VCC has honored the Chief Senior Master Sergeant a couple of years back, and went on a mission on one of the the big C-130s, Air Force men. I refueled a B-52. So I'm for everybody, all the branches.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Mr. Epperson.
Okay, with that in mind, let's vote.
All right, and that motion carries with 11 in support, none in opposition, and 1 absent, bringing us to our second communication committee reports for the day.
Okay, get on the board if anybody has any communiques or committee reports. It appears none.
Okay. That then brings us to citizens' comments, late arrivals, where citizens are asked if you would like to fill out a comment form and submit it in the box. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. I do know that we have received and submitted at least 1 request for late arrival citizen comment.
Okay, I'd like to call up citizen Candy Peavy. On paper ballots.
Good afternoon. My name's Candy Peavy. I'm
Welcome.
a Shreveport resident, and my address is on the card. Thank you guys so much for even entertaining this resolution. I really appreciated the comments that I heard, and I wanted to give you a little bit of background because I did go to Baton Rouge. I guess it was 2 years ago, time flies, but when the Voting System Commission was meeting, and so I attended in person. I provided some testimony, and I watched online. And during those meetings, they were extremely long. They were most of the day. They were very interesting. And they brought in a bunch of computer experts to testify about the reliability of the machines. And to a T, every single one of these experts testified that the voting machines that we're using throughout the country, it's not just Louisiana, are all extremely vulnerable to hacking. And that's what the citizens are concerned about. We want to have faith in our elections, and we want to know, no matter what party we're on. My personal testimony, I'm a child of the 60s. And, you know, that phrase, power to the people, that was me. I was a Democrat. I registered as a Democrat, was most of my life. And then now I'm considered unaffiliated because I became very disillusioned with both parties. And I think the citizens just really want to trust their elections. So a lot of the country is going towards paper ballots for that very reason, because the machines are so hackable. They're easy, and I like the easy part. But there are ways that we can get around the counting issue so that the counting is fast if we do it at the precinct level, so that ballots don't have to be transported to another part of town or somewhere else in the state. They can be counted that night. And there are teams of people working on that system. So I'm glad y'all are taking it to committee, because I think it's a really complicated issue and it's really worth looking at. Ballot marking devices is what the Secretary is looking at, and those are electronic, and they have what's called a paper component. It's not a paper ballot, so they cannot be audited. And I don't know, do y'all know who counts your votes? Because they're not they're counted by the machine. And if the machine is programmed in advance, our clerks don't know. It's proprietary information. Proprietary means that only the company that you get the machine from knows what's inside that machine and knows how it works, and they cannot be audited. Our elections have not been audited in a valid way for years and years. And I'd like to say one more thing if I could.
Can we get an extension of time?
1 minute.
1 minute, please.
Thank you. So it's proprietary. We don't know. We can mark the device and get a paper receipt, which is the component, and it can say, we can look at it, it can say who we voted for, but we don't know what's in the machine that's been pre-programmed, that when it's if it's ever audited, it can't be audited. That's my point. The only people that can audit is the company that makes the machine, and people have tried all over the country to audit these machines, and they can't be. So if you have a race that you're contesting here in Shreveport, the only way your race can be audited is on those paper ballots that were the early voting ballots, the paper ballots. That's all they count. They can't go into the machine and count your votes because that's proprietary information. It's only the hard copy early voting paper ballots that can be counted. And I would be more than happy to attend committee meetings because I have a lot of information. I'd love to share it with you guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Clerk.
That brings us to the consent agenda.
Move for adjournment.
Meeting adjourned.
Thank you for your open-mindedness.
Hey, I also